Today, I have proof for you that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu just straight up doesn't work in a street fight. After I said that, you probably have one or two responses. The first one might be you've picked your chair up and you've thrown it through the window and it's hit your poor old neighbor in the head. Now she's got a concussion, you got to take her to hospital. Or maybe you jumped up in your chair and you're rejoicing and you're saying, yes! Finally, someone understands what I've been saying on Reddit self-defense forum all this time. I got bad news for you. Both of those reactions are really wrong. The truth lies somewhere in the middle. At least that's what I think. That's my opinion based on my experience training for self-defense. Today, we're going to be looking at a video that claims to show that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu doesn't work in a street fight. I'm going to have a watch of it and I'm going to respond to it in real time just to kind of tell you what I think about it and give you my thoughts on, one, does Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu work in a street fight? And two, if you are going to train it, how do you do that? What do you focus on? That's what I want to talk about in this video. So look, let's get straight into it.
Jiu-Jitsu does not work. Let me explain. For this video, I'm gonna be having my boys jump me. We're gonna run real life scenarios. We got fake knife. If it's a fair one-on-one, nobody has a knife, whether it's concrete or not street fight, Jiu-Jitsu will work if you're training it and doing it correctly.
Let's be clear, when we say Jiu-Jitsu don't work, we need to put a word after that. In a street fight, in a real self-defense scenario, in a street fight, the last thing you want to do is be on the ground.
Big thing I want to focus on here is he said the last thing you want to do is go to the ground. I 100% agree with this, right? You don't want to go to a self-defense situation, generally speaking, and say, all right, my game plan here is I am going to shoot in for a double leg, take him down, and then scoot around, grab an armbar, and hold him there until the police arrive. I think intuitively, we all know that's a really bad idea. But my question is, in altercation, sometimes you accidentally end up on the ground, particularly if you only have striking. It's not unlikely that you hit the floor. Now, when you hit the floor and you've got someone trying to take your head off, you're on your back and the person is on top of you. My question is, without grappling skills, how do you get up? Do you just kind of try to stand up? Because I guarantee you're probably going to get knocked the fuck out if you try to do that. All you've got is striking, and you're now trying to stand up with no grappling ability while this person is on top of you, just dunk, dunk, dunk. You're just like a fish in a barrel. You have to have some level of grappling skill. You don't need to be a black belt, but you need to have some level of grappling skill to be able to get up from that when it happens. So you don't want to go to the ground on purpose, but when you end up there, you need to be able to get up. And generally, the way you're going to be able to do that is by having grappling skills.
I'm going to conceal this on me. We're going to create a bunch of scenarios that would be real world scenarios and show you why you wouldn't want to be on the ground or attempting jiu-jitsu in those scenarios.
And I'm only going to be grappling for this video. If you guys enjoy this, let's make sure we hit the like button and we'll do it.
I think right there, that was a really important distinction. Why you wouldn't want to be on the ground or attempting jiu-jitsu. So just again, you never want to try to be on the ground on purpose. But if you are on the ground and you have no jiu-jitsu, you're left trying to hope that you can eye gouge this guy. You're left trying to hope that you can trap his head and stick your fingers in his eyes. And that's going to be enough to get him completely off you so that you can then stumble to your feet somehow. That's not really a good plan. It's not enough. It just isn't. Right? So you shouldn't try to get to the ground, but if you end up there, you need to know how to get up. And often getting up will mean that you need to be able to use your opponent's body as some sort of leverage to lean on in the right way so that you can get up safely without getting hit. And if you train jiu-jitsu correctly, you absolutely get that. If you have no jiu-jitsu on, you got no hope at all.
A video where I can strike, and always, guys, the best thing to do in a situation like this is run. Right?
Yeah,
that's why it's important to be in shape, right? So we can get out this scenario. Just to break it down more on what we're doing, I'm gonna be standing in this corner over here with my ears covered. These guys are gonna be in this corner and they're gonna decide, hey, we're all gonna have knives, or hey, one of y'all is a civilian, the rest of us are jumping them, and I'm always gonna confront one person first. And then I'm gonna just have to go from there. And then in some situations, I'm gonna start out in a dominant position, only can use grappling. These guys, we don't have enough shin guards, but whoever has shin guards, they can kick me. Everybody can stomp me out, punch me, obviously. So let's go ahead.
What we're gonna do for this first one?
So first off, this is a really good drill, right? The guy has no idea what's going on. The other guys are planning a sophisticated scenario, and he's going to have to adapt to that scenario, use verbal de-escalation. This is a good drill. This is a great premise. And these guys, if you know street beefs, the whole concept and the history behind a lot of the guys, they probably have a lot of experience and actually know what kind of scenarios to realistically create. So really good drill. Absolutely love this.
Ready? 1, 2, 3, go. I feel like they would have got me there.
He's a dead man.
Right, so in this particular scenario, he started out on top and he started trying to apply jiu-jitsu. I think they're right here. In this scenario, if you've got full mount and you don't know how many attackers you have, the last thing you want to do is try to like work your jiu-jitsu game. If you're on top, you need to get the up, get off, and get out. And here's where I think the primary caveat needs to be when it comes to like, does jiu-jitsu work in a street fight, or should you only train boxing only? Like with jiu-jitsu, I think the primary thing you need to be doing is ideally you should aim to be blue belt, and the dominant amount of skills that you want to be really good at for self-defense at like a blue belt level is fighting off of your back, more specifically sweeping and getting up, right? You need to be really good at applying sweeps and escapes to be able to get up to your feet so that you don't have to be on the ground anymore. The reason I say blue belt, because you're probably thinking like you don't need to be a blue belt to really do that. Like you've got side control, you've got mount, you've got full guard. That's probably like most of the positions you're going to find yourself in a street self-defense scenario. But the reason I say that is because like obviously the heavier the person is, it gets significantly more difficult to do all of that stuff. And if you're a blue belt, you're going to be having the skills necessary to be able to apply those same escapes to someone who's a lot heavier. They're 100% right here. When you're on top in mount, do not stay there. Absolutely, you do not want to stay there. You want to be getting up. Now, this is like with the caveat of like, if you've just stopped a shoplifter or a knife attacker and you're trying to control the dude until police arrive, yes, you're going to want to have some sort of ability to control the person from the top until police arrive, while also maintaining situational awareness. When it comes to that, like you want to work on having control from the top from a position that you can also quickly get up from. So like just having a good knee ride, for example, for me is great because you can quickly push off, stand up, and also keep your head on a swivel. For purely self-defense purposes, you're just trying to keep yourself safe. Sweeps and escapes from the bottom are what you want to be focusing on. If you're on top in a dominant position, just get up and get out. So I support this so far. I support the concept.
So
He was a dead man before they even jumped in. I was stabbing him from the bottom. Yeah.
and I didn't notice at first that he had a knife until I think I seen you cock it back the second time, and I believe you were hitting me here.
Yeah.
And then after that, I didn't even know what the
I've
hell y'all were
witnessed a
up.
lot of people get stabbed. I've been stabbed. You don't feel it. You don't even know what it is.
I was stabbed in
Adrenaline.
my throat. The first time I got stabbed, I didn't know I was stabbed.
You just keep going. You don't understand it.
And then you're dead.
Anybody that says that grappling will work in a self-defense scenario like this is capping.
Okay, see that right there is the problem. I'm hoping that he phrased that in that way accidentally, because he said anyone who thinks like grappling will work in a self-defense scenario like this is capping. You're lying. They're not on fleek. You're not on, if you say that, if you say grappling works, you're not on fleek. And the phrasing there is the problem. And it might have been accidental. It might have been on purpose. It might have been genuinely what he meant. But my problem with that is, again, whether you're on mats and you have someone trying to punch you in the head with mixed martial arts gloves in a sporting session, or whether you're on the street, like the jiu-jitsu escape from the bottom, insofar that it focuses on being really explosive and doesn't focus on having very small step-by-step technical movements, will work in both of those settings, right? An escape from side control will work whether you're on concrete or whether you're on the mats. It'll scrape your skin off on concrete, but it will still work. An escape from mount will work whether you're on the mats or whether you're on the street. There are some additional things you have to take into consideration, which we'll be going into later, and you do not want to train jiu-jitsu in the same way for self-defense as you would for the street. Absolutely, I can agree with that. But to say that it doesn't work, I think that's where the problem comes in, because that leads to people basically thinking like, I don't need to train grappling because even if I'm really good at it, it has no utility. That's not the case. It's very, very difficult to stay on top of someone who's good at grappling for any significant period of time. And it's actually not that easy to get shots off on them, insofar that they are not afraid of being punched and they actually have some grip to them, which is like why you should be training striking as well, right? You don't want to just only do grappling. Of course not. That's silly. This is where the issues I have with this kind of mentality and these kind of sayings start to come in.
Motherfucker, you've been owing me money. We've been talking for a minute.
Don't touch
We've been
me.
talking.
Don't touch me.
Okay, right there. Before we, I know, I stopped it. Before we get in, just self-defense related, I want to talk about what I'm seeing and some things that are happening that come to mind as well. Right there, right, we've got the aggressor, and our good guy in the scenario is saying, don't touch me, don't touch me, don't touch me. This is like, in self-defense, generally speaking, isn't the best idea, because this person is heavily ego driven that's attacking you. And if you start to give orders, right, this person is almost looking for an excuse to convince themselves that you are the bad guy and you deserve to get hurt for the most part. So if you start giving orders, right, this person starts thinking, who the f are you to tell me what to do? You think you're so good? You think you have authority? F you, boom, right? It sounds like you're being really assertive and you're giving a clear non-aggressive command, but insofar that your attacker is interpreting that, that's aggression. That's an excuse to f you up. You don't want to give orders. Don't touch me, right? That's an order, and if they then agree with that, in their mind, that's them almost like losing to you. They don't want to do that. They will do anything to avoid losing to you. So you don't want to give commands or like ultimatums, right? You want to try to avoid doing that.
Motherfucker, you've been owing me money. We've been talking for a minute.
Don't touch me.
Talking.
Don't touch me.
Let him go, man. Come on, man. Why y'all beat him up? Come on, man. Come on, man. Get off of him. Get off of him, man. I'm calling the cops. I'm calling the cops.
Well, he hitting arm bars.
A few things. First of all, again, I agree with the point that you should not be shooting in for a takedown intentionally and then following them to the ground and then going for an armbar and trying to like do that when you've got more than one or before you've established how many attackers are in the scenario. Yes, I can absolutely agree that's a terrible idea. But let's say you're in this position, you've got 3 people on top of you kicking the crap out of you. Boxing is doing nothing. Kickboxing is doing nothing. There's really not a lot you can do. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, it's not really going to help a whole lot. It really isn't. You got 3 people, you're trying to fight against 6 different fists. It's impossible. But in a position where you're on your back, training Jiu-Jitsu in the right way, in this scenario, off of your back, focusing on sweeps and escapes, it's not a terrible thing to know how to do here. It's not 100% going to save you, but to say that when you're on your back and you do have people punching you from on top, Jiu-Jitsu won't help, I think is silly. So far that you train it the right way, you should know it.
So there's just so much going on. I'm covering my ears. Don't want them to hear me. Also, guys, a lot of y'all are watching my videos, but aren't subscribed tremendously, okay? So go ahead, subscribe.
On that note, if you're not subscribed, subscribe to me as well. I need it. I need help over here. And also on that note, if you do find my channel valuable, there's a couple ways you can support me. The first one is Barbell Apparel have really great clothing, and they have like a no rip guarantee where if the clothes that you buy rip, they will actually replace them for you. I got a good pair of pants for work that I wear every day. Occasionally I'm like jumping a fence at work and I'm like always sprinting and running. Sometimes I have to roll. I work in like disability support at the moment, I guess you could say, and I have to defend myself frequently without hurting them. Sometimes that means sprinting away, and these pants are great because they look professional, but also they're really flexible and like let me do what I have to do. So you can use the link in my comment or description to get a pair of those pants or any other work clothes as well, and that will support me. Also, I have a Patreon which is active. Check out the link in the description or pinned comment as well to support me over there. Thanks guys, let's get back to it.
So we're gonna start here and we're gonna go through. I'm gonna try to choke you. All right, 3, 2, 1, go.
Come on, man. Get off of him, man. What are you doing, man? Come on, man. Get off of him, man.
Yo,
Come on, man.
get off my boy, yo.
Come on, man.
Get off my boy.
Come on, man. I don't want no problem.
That's a real back. That's a cracked skull.
Yeah.
That's a cracked skull.
I felt that hit me in the back of the head.
The message here is like partially right. It's really good. You don't want to be 100% jiu-jitsu based, and you don't want to be really confident in your jiu-jitsu, and you don't want to be thinking that because you do really well on the mats, you do really well in the street fight. Because if you have poor decision-making skills and you haven't trained jiu-jitsu to be effective in the street, and you're focusing on the wrong things like small technical movements and such, as opposed to gross motor movements or explosive escapes and sweeps, then yeah, you're not going to do too well. You're going to make poor decisions. You're going to get cracked by their friend. Yeah, you're going to get third-partied, essentially. They're right, but they're also wrong because it's a good skill to have if you're on your back. You need to know how to get up. But they're about to talk about how you don't necessarily need jiu-jitsu because there are a lot of like dirty tactics that you can use which could supplement that. So let's have a look at what they have to say there.
Because one thing that's not allowed in MMA is small joint manipulation, okay? And eye gouging, right? So let's test. Obviously, I'm not going to gouge his eyes or try to hurt him, but I want to see while he's working different submissions if any of the stuff that's banned in the UFC can be used to protect me from a jiu-jitsu in a
Because
one-on-one.
anybody in the street will go for your eyes immediately.
And another
I think right now he said if anything that's illegal in the UFC can protect me from like a jiu-jitsu, which I assume he means like someone who's good at jiu-jitsu and is trying to use that against you in a street fight. First thing is, I think it's really unlikely you're going to come up against someone who's like really good at jiu-jitsu in a street fight, because those people generally are quite humble. I'm sure it can happen, but generally speaking, the person that attacks you isn't that great at jiu-jitsu. Second thing is, if someone is really good at jiu-jitsu, I guarantee you no eye gouging or like small joint manipulation is going to save you. Like if you've ever rolled with someone who's like blue belt and you're a white belt or above, like blue belt or above, while you're a white belt, you know that it's not helping you. It's just not. Assuming that that other person has some level of grit. Like there are some, like sometimes you might roll with a woman who's like really, really small and you can kind of tell they're a bit fragile, obviously, but she's not going to be the one attacking you, right? The one attacking you is going to be the guy that has grit and aggression in him. Now, that's my preface to this. Let's see what they say.
The thing that we can't really test out safely is that he can bite and tear chunks of meat off.
Again, biting is really overrated. It's really, really overrated. And if you think you're going to be able to bite against someone who is really good at jiu-jitsu and who is also intent on like doing serious harm to you, not intent on rolling with you. That's not the scenario we're talking about. We're talking about you've got someone who does jiu-jitsu who is trying to, like, let's say kill you, for example. You're not biting your way out of it. You're not eye gouging your way out of it. You're not small joint manipulating your way out of it. If they have that level of skill and you've got no grappling training, there's nothing you can do. There might be some rare instances where it might buy you a small chance, but even then, if you don't have the grappling skills to take advantage of that small chance and transition into a sweep or an escape, you're like, because they're just going to be like, you bit me, boom, rear naked, or boom, transition into something that like they weren't already doing and now you've really pissed them off. That's the most likely outcome. In my experience, I think you really got to be careful with that line of thinking that biting and eye gouging and small joint manipulation will completely combat a skilled jiu-jitsu an individual who's really skilled at jiu-jitsu. It's just silly. It's just silly.
Okay. 3, 2, 1, go. Yeah, that hurts.
What's been jumping in?
First thought here is, okay, we're doing small joint manipulation, we're doing dirty fighting against someone who's like trying to do technical jiu-jitsu. Again, this isn't really a realistic example of what you would encounter if you were in a life or death fight with someone who's really skilled at jiu-jitsu. The second you start reaching back and trying to go for that eye, they're not going to keep trying to like, I gotta fish for the underhook and get a seatbelt grip. No, they're saying f you, and they're gonna start cracking you in the back of the skull. And while they have their hooks in, good luck trying to reach back and gouge someone in the eye from that position. They're gonna be cracking you in the face. It's gonna be like, oh fucking god, oh shit, and then their thumb's in your eye while they're punching you in the face from behind. And then that's gonna give them a chance to sink in that rear naked. And then they'll have one arm around and they'll be fucking done there. You are not ever going to be in a position where you are using dirty street fight tactics against someone who is good at jiu-jitsu, and then that person continues to try to use technical jiu-jitsu. That person will then also start to use dirty street fight tactics. That's not how it's gonna go. You're gonna escalate the situation. They're in a better position than you. They're gonna fuck you up. This stuff will not save you if the person is skilled. And if they're not skilled, then yeah, absolutely, it can be helpful. But again, they're not skilled. Like, they don't really know what they're doing grappling-wise. I think that's kind of what we're seeing here. You know, very, very low-level white belt from behind, the level of control that this guy is displaying. In that case, these dirty moves can be enough to help create opportunities and openings. But again, they're not really trying to hurt each other here. And again, if it were a street fight, he might not have that great grappling skills. He might have watched some UFC practice with his friends to get that back control. But again, he's going to start cracking you in the back of the head. He's there. You start gouging him in the eye. Guess what? Again, crack, crack, crack. Like, you're escalating from a very, very vulnerable physical position there. I don't think that's a good idea from there. I really don't.
See how those finger bends?
Yeah.
So
Well, I didn't know how long.
Definitely.
And also, guys, keep in mind that highest I ever got was white belt. But you know, you've rolled with some guys that were blue, white belts, still can hold your own. You don't even train grappling, right? So now, if I'm a black belt, a serious black belt, scenario could have been a little bit different, but you can more than likely buy enough time for your boy to come in, who is maybe letting a fair one-on-one, might see his boys in a deep choke.
Right.
Come in.
That's enough.
And look, the last thing, when I
Wait, but aren't you the bad guy that, like, aren't you the guy that you're telling people aren't, like, so you've engaged in a fair one-on-one, and then you start to lose on the ground, and then your boys jump in. Aren't you the bad, isn't that who you're not meant to, what? Like, is it just me, or is that confusing? Like, that's not self-defense. I don't understand that at all, and how that applies to the message they're trying to put out here. Okay, so now what are my recommendations? What do I think you should do? What do I think, like, the truth is? I think that, one, of course, if you have the time available to you, you should be training grappling. As I said before, you should predominantly, when it comes to jiu-jitsu anyway, predominantly be focusing on fighting off of your back, and your goal should be sweeps and escapes so that you can return to a standing position. And here's kind of where the details come in, right? Like, most jiu-jitsu gyms that you go to are not training you to do jiu-jitsu against the kind of attacks you'll face in a street fight. They are not training you to perform jiu-jitsu against a very high intensity, very aggressive, very fast-paced attack when someone's trying to punch you in the face. They are training you to do jiu-jitsu against another person who is also doing jiu-jitsu. And what this results in is a lot of very complicated and unorthodox positions that require a lot of very kind of slow incremental movements. You know, you're not going from A to B really quick. You're going from A, and then you're sneaking to B, and then you're using some deception. You're going to C, and then to D, until eventually you get an ankle lock, and then you lock it up, for example, right? That is not the kind of thing you need to be doing for the streets. So you should be training grappling. You're probably not going to have a grappling school that is going to be focused on street self-defense. And if they say they are, they're probably going to be terrible at it anyway. So my recommendations for you training grappling would be, find a jiu-jitsu school, just attend the classes, and when they show a technique that focuses on sweeping from your back or escaping from your back, and you see an opportunity where you can then return to a standing position, I recommend you really focus on that and take it in. And then any other technique they show that requires any incremental, very, very slow movements, like slowly scoot around, slowly walk your hand up, call that off. No, focus on that one that you took note of. And when it comes to rolling, that's what you're practicing. That's what you're going to try to drill. You're going to put yourself in bottom side control on purpose so that you can work that escape. And you're going to keep attending, keep doing that. Of course, do the drills that they ask you to do. Otherwise, it's just disrespectful. Don't be a dick. But just really focus on fighting off of your back, doing escapes and sweeps from bottom positions. Your goal is to return to a standing position. You're going to want to be able to do this from like all the primary ones. So when you're in bottom guard, when you're in bottom side control, and when you're in bottom mount. That's what you're going to want to be really good at. And again, you're just going to want to be really intentional about remembering the fact that in a street situation, this person that's on top of you isn't going to be very technical. They're not going to really be hugging your body tightly, right, like that. They're going to probably be allowing a lot of space between you and them. They're going to be wanting to sit up and throw really big shots down at you. And that's actually going to create some of the space where in sport jiu-jitsu, you need that really incremental movement in order to create that space and that opportunity to perform the sweep or escape. But in self-defense, most people aren't that great at that kind of stuff. It looks a lot more like the old kind of UFC style fights, right? Just really fast and aggressive. That space is almost made for you, right? When people are wildly swinging at your face, they kind of make the space that's necessary to bridge and scoot your butt back and insert a knee. So focus on those kind of skills, and also really focus on the ones that require explosivity, explosive movements. Again, not the small incremental movements, explosive movements, or ones that have like very few steps, right? For example, ones that you can think that would work if someone was trying to punch you in the face while you're trying to do them. And of course, you need to be training striking at the same time. Yes, you need to be training striking. You cannot only be a grappler and be good at self-defense, or be confident in a wide variety of self-defense scenarios. You need to be training striking as well. That should go without saying. That's what I think about this. That is my advice to you. I hope you liked it. If you want to see a video where I test out some silly kung fu techniques to see whether or not they work, And then I also give you a defense against a wild right hand punch, like a haymaker or like a wide right hook. Check out this video here. And other than that, hit subscribe button. Other than that, hit the like button. Other than that, buy some clothes from Barbell Apparel. Other than that, help me out on Patreon. Other than that, share this video with one of your friends. If you have any friends, if you don't, it's okay. Just like attend a social event. Find someone with similar interests to you there. You know, like if you like bowling, go to a bowling event. You're gonna hit it off with someone. And then I'll see you in the next video, guys. Thank you for watching. See you later. Thanks, guys. Bye.